into the form for another week. We'll preview the best races coming up around the country. And this week on the form, we've got a bit of a smaller panel. Brendan Popwell's heading over to the Gold Coast to check out Magic Round. So we look forward to that, of course, with the NRL, but we'll concentrate on the racing this weekend coming up. We're joined by Leith Innes and Aidan Rodley. And Leith, look, we've had some cracking racing in the north, but the highlight this week, I suppose, is down south.
Yeah, it is. They got two good races down there this Saturday, and you know, Te Rapa's got a nice two-year-old race as well, so you know, look forward to it.
Yeah, represented in both regions, and the man to take us through the meeting on Saturday will be Aidan Rodley. And Aidan, looking forward to this meeting. It's thrown up some cracking winners in the past.
Yeah, it sure has, and this is really the end of black type racing in the South Island for the season, but it finishes up what's been a really good autumn carnival. Saw a terrific Canterbury Gold Cup at the track a couple of weeks ago. We've started with the poly season, and yeah, looks to be a really good program, good undercard as well, Pip.
Absolutely. So let's have a look what is coming up on the form for you to enjoy. We'll start with the feature preview. It will be out of Riccarton, our two listed features. The racetrackers, our Te Rapa feature with the two-year-olds there. The Kentucky Derby preview as well with Acacia Clement, and the best bets. Hopefully I do a little bit better for you, but we did find some winners last week, and hopefully we find some more this weekend. Time for our feature preview. It is down south out of Riccarton, and we'll start with the Daphne Bannon Memorial Great Easter Stakes. But before we do check out the market, Aidan Rodley, we better head to you for our weather and track conditions. Obviously not looking that great in the north. What about down south?
Yeah, certainly looking a little bit better down there as well, Pip. Currently a slow 7 as we record this. It's yeah, it's obviously it's been a drying track. We got down there for the 15th, and it was really an up and in track. They brought the rail in a little bit for the next meeting, but that was a wetter track, so it was certainly wider. So with that wear and tear, maybe they'll just be looking at coming a little bit wider. Be interesting to see how the rail does play early.
It will be. So let's have a look at the market, see who heads the betting. Of course, Lance Robinson with a good hand in the race. Eva Quinella at $5.50. Live Drama, who won the race last year, at 7.5, and also Burnview at $6.50. The Radiant One splitting the stablemates in the market at $6. And we take you back now to the South Island breeders, and it was taken out by Live Drama. Obviously, Eva Quinella in this race as well, Aidan, and Divine Sava. But look, once Live Drama found the front, really kicked away to hold on.
Yeah, she's been going super all season. Obviously, this is a bit of a weight hike. She goes up 4.5 kilograms under the handicap conditions. She was beautifully placed under the set weights and penalties last time out. She'd run really well in running second the White Robe Lodge a couple of starts back. See a very good run here from Eva Quinella into third position. Divine Sava, who comes in on the minimum here, gets home nicely for fifth. But yeah, it's not a bad form line. The one key there is that Eva Quinella drops into this a whole lot better, comes in much better at the weights, and that weight turnaround probably says advantage to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Aidan, what about you? Leith, how did you assess that run?
Yeah, it was Lance Robinson. He's got a great hand in the race. Look, he's got 3 runners, and they're all without it. You know, they probably have both 3 of them winning chances. Obviously, Live Drama's got 60 kilos to contend with, and Eva Quinella gets in with a perfect weight of 54.
Well, let's have a look at another runner, not from Lance Robinson's stable. We'll head you back to Lightning Jack, and this is when him running third in the Gold Cup. Aidan, how did you assess this run?
Oh, it was a really good run. He's been going super all season. He's placed 3 times in Stakes Company, including running third in the Thorndon Mile at Trentham in January. The trick is, Leith, and I'll be interested to get your thoughts on it. I know they've freshened him up and they've got the blinkers going on just to be aiding that as well, but 2,000 back to 1,400 metres and up into handicap company. It's not easy, is it?
It's not, and obviously he probably one of those horses. He looks a little bit better placed in the race if it was turned to heavy. Obviously the weather's up in the air at the moment, but look, blinkers on, they've got to sharpen him up a little bit anyway.
Now let's have a look at Emanon winning last time too in the rail there. Just got a little bit awkward, Aidan, but once she straightened up, she was good here on the heavy 8.
Yeah, she's been super the whole time. She's been just a model of consistency, and Lionel Dobbs doing a very good job with her. She's just such a fighter. She rallied so strongly this day to come back and beat the Radiant One too. So on that form, some chance. She's got form around some of these key runners, such as Burnview from 3 starts back. Yeah, wide barrier draw, up and weight a little bit. There's a couple of things against her this time round though.
So let's get selections now. We've had a look at a couple that we wanted to highlight. Leith, who are you going to go with?
I'm going to go for Eva Quinella. Look, I think she's well placed at 54 kilos, and if the track sort of dries out to a soft 4, soft 5, I think she's a winning chance in this race.
Yeah, doesn't Lance Robinson have a hand in the race? He quinelled it last year, of course, and yeah, I'm going to go with Burnview. Just I know this horse has been set for it last time out, was just ridden off the speed, but still hit the line really nicely. The start before running second and behind him, and I'm very good. The runs of a horse who's ready to peak third up, and I thought beautifully placed in this.
Speaking of trainers, we'll head to some key connections, and we'll start with Lance Robinson, who has 3 in the race. And firstly, we just asked him where he thinks Live Drama is this time compared to last season.
I feel she's better this year. She's stronger, and I've got no queries over the distance. She'll run the 1400 on her ear, so no, couldn't be happy with the horse.
We'll talk about Burnview. What did you make of the 4th in the Easter Cup?
Oh, we're thrilled with his run. He went super fresh up, and he only just got beat fresh up without a trial over 1400, and then we had to sort of back him up a fortnight later over the 1600 into the Easter Classic. So, he only had a fortnight between his first up run and that run, and I just felt the edge was off him just a fraction after having gone so good fresh, and he just wasn't quite as sharp early, but he's had a nice 3-week break since then.
Ava Quinella certainly did well to try and catch a nice one on Henry Hubber last start.
Yep, she went super. 1200 metres is not her ideal trip either, but she got home really good on a heavy track, which probably doesn't normally suit her, but the way she got home and the way she found the line, you would think this race would be ideal for her this week.
Oh, look, I think with being freshened right up, I think with the weights, she draws a good gate. She'll posse right up, and if the track's playing better than it has been with the amount of rain they've had, she's got to be right in it.
We see the return of 5 Princes as well. Where could this lead to for him?
Yeah, look, he's just going to have he would need a couple of runs to get going, get him back up over ground, but he's probably come back in looking as good as we've ever seen him, and he'll potentially have a bit of a sort of a guarded autumn, and then look towards maybe trekking him towards like a New Zealand Cup.
Look, I thought the ground might have been a bit tricky for her last week, fresh up start. She proved to us that she's a tough wee mare, and she was a bit fat for the run, and I think she's really improved since then.
That's our trainers there with their thoughts. That's race number 7 on Saturday out of Riccarton. Now let's move our attention to the listed 2-year-old race. This is the Berkeley Stud Champagne Stakes, and Cullen favourite at 2.8, but he is a favourite with Penvose Lad, who turned the tables last start as well. Get Funky at $5 and Illicit Dreams at the $6 quote. So once again, it looks to be a very nice race here. Well, let's start with one of the key highlight races, because it is Cullen coming up against Penvose Lad, and this time Aidan, Penvose Lad turned the tables.
And turned the tables with real authority too. This is a brilliant win from a horse who's only getting better and better. Had nearly beaten Cullen when sticking to the inside on debut. Just had Cullen surging home down the outside to get the win. But this is a dominant performance. Really like what we saw from it. Obviously a little bit of a wet track action there too, Leith, but there's quality.
Yeah, there is. These 2-year-olds, when they get in form like this, are normally hard to beat the next start as well. And obviously he's taken nothing out of the race. He's pulled up well, and look, it just liked his last 100 metres where he really hit the line well.
And we'll now take a look at the start prior, and this is when Cullen did get the better of Penvose Lad, and this was over the 1,000 metres, Aidan.
Yeah, and obviously you can see Cullen there second from the outside, Penvose Lad right on the inside. There's not a lot between them. Then you factor in horses like Radiant Reach, who's out wider again, who hasn't been seen since that day. They've just purposely freshened this horse, and so comes into it nicely. Look how many horses are so close up in there. Obviously Mogul's gone okay in for 3rd spot as well. So yeah, it's a key form line, but then you take out of it what improvement we've seen from Penvose Lad in that next start run. So yeah, that's where I've gone in the end. I've gone Penvose Lad on top. Real respect around some of these others in the race, Pip, but on what we saw last start, I think he's the horse to beat.
I was going to ask you about Get Funky as well, Aidan. I see Lisa Ladder and Tina Komenahi did win this race last year. What about a Northern Raider like her? Yep,
the Woodville win last time out had a lot of merit. I actually favoured of the 2 Northern visitors. I thought Illicit's Dreams win at Ruakaka maybe had a little bit more merit. So if I was sort of forced to be picking between the pair, I think I'd go for the Northlander.
What about you, Leith? Are you going with the north or down south?
I think I'll go down south. Penvose Lad, he just improved so much from his first race to his second. look, he looked comfortable on a heavy track, and I know Cucallin, the stable, they were very worried about that day when it was wet. So if the track improves, he could turn the tables, but I think Penrose Lad, he's just a big improver.
That's the boys' selections. Now time to hear from their trainers. We'll start with Mark Walker, and we just asked him how happy he is with Cucallin after that last start run.
No, we're happy with him. I think 1200 will suit him actually better. Obviously the winner the other day got through the wet ground far superior to him, so, and it's going to be wet again, but whether 1200 back to set weights, whether that helps, remains to be seen.
Yeah, it was a super run really. He jumped over the barrier nice and clean and basically went straight to the front. Held himself together and he sort of took him a little bit of time to get balanced up in the straight, but when he did, he really showed a good turn of foot.
She handled the trip very well. I thought she might have lightened up a bit more than she did, but no, she was straight into the paddock, straight into her food, and she has not missed a beat since she's been here. She's very bright. If you've seen, she's towing me around, and I can't fault her. She's really toughed it out the trip.
Right, that's our preview of the two Riccarton listed features. Make sure you tune into the action. TAB Trackside 1 Saturday. First race, top of the hour at 12 p.m. Time for Racetrack, as I'm sure you know what this segment is about, horses or dogs that may have caught the eye last start or been a little bit unlucky. Start with you, Lee. Who have you found this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the last Saturday race to Te Rapa, Desert Island. She had a beautiful trip just in behind the leaders, and then the gaps didn't arrive, and Cozzy was waiting for a run, and it never eventuated to the last sort of 200 metres. She was only beaten 4.5 lengths from the winner, but it's pretty hard to pick up ground on that sort of track at Te Rapa as it was too. But mark her down if she goes back to a rating 65 somewhere, she'll be going very close to winning. This is a standing, you know, it was a really strong 3-year-old race, this.
Yeah, jump back to the 65, and you're right, it certainly was a bit of a front runner's track on that occasion. I'm going for a greyhound, Diamond Nina. Now, it does run 7th here, but this is in Class 5 company. Goes around in one of the first New Zealand Oak Heats on Friday afternoon. She is a bitch that comes up with the Ace Alley. She's Class 5 graded up against some C2 chasers. You can see she got up on heels there. Just have a look at her trying to poke back up through runners as she turns into the home straight. She's $7 for the futures in New Zealand Oaks market. She's second joint favourite. The only dog ahead of her is a Power Linda, and you can just see there she just could not get the breakthrough. I think she'll be winning her heat, and I do think she's a nice play for futures at $7, Aidan.
I'm going to take you to Timaru and have a look at Mystic Park. That's a horse who's just peeled 3 wide into the straight. Now this is, you know, at least talking about a really high quality 3-year-old race. This wasn't a high quality race at all, but it's the manner that this horse wins in, closes in 45.69, just blitzes them, and this is a performance of rare quality in maiden company in the south. There's no problems about stepping up in grade. I just don't know what the ceiling will be. But when you win them like that, you go on and win them again pretty quickly, and I expect big things from Mystic Park in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that was impressive. So make sure you note these 3 down in your little black book, or pop them in your race tracker on tab.co.nz. Time to head back up north, and we'll head to Te Rapa for the listed 2-year-old race. And Aidan, before we do it, once again check out the market. Weather and conditions not looking so good for Saturday.
No, if anyone's been watching the forecasts in the north on the news lately, there's a fair bit of weather coming our way, so it's a bit unfortunate. Currently it's a soft 6, and Te Rapa does play a very good winter track anyhow. The rail out 10 metres, so there's a couple of factors just to keep in your thinking when you do assess these races.
Well, let's have a look at the race now. It's the Waikato Equine Veterinary Centre 2-year-old stakes over the 1,200 metres. Viva Vienna for Mark Walker, who won this race last year at 2.7. Solidify at 3.2. Glamour Tycoon at $6.50. And then you've got Tower Fly Pass at the $8 mark. Right, well, let's have a look at the key lead-in race. Viva Vienna wins this on the track too at Te Rapa. The filly here fresh up as well, Aidan, so a very nice performance from her.
Yeah, sure was, but this is a really competitive race. We saw a good run from Glamour Tycoon, and even out wider on the track, Darcy's Angels gave us a bit of a shout, getting right into the finish as well. Phil Tilt's come out of this race after running 5th to run 2nd at Te Rapa since, so yeah, it's okay. Viva Vienna's got the form on the board, but these other 2 have gone very good races, and yeah, this isn't a cut and dry race.
No, absolutely not, because we're now going to have a look at the Graham Rogerson and Debbie Rogerson runner and Solidify, and this was an ultra performance too, and it was at Te Rapa once again.
Yeah, this is a good performance, no question. We see the horse out widest on the track, hitting the line strongest of all, and beats home some decent horses in here, including Phil Tour, as we said, runs second. Had chased home Tower Fly Pass in the debut run, but obviously there's improvement. A horse who's really developing, Leith.
Yeah, he is. Look, he only had the one other start at Tauranga over 1,300, and look, the best thing about this race, it didn't go overly hard, but he pins his ears back. He's a colt, and he's got to back up a week later. But going on the type of horse he is, I don't think it'll be a problem.
And speaking of Tower Fly Pass, this is him winning at Tauranga 2 last time, going the other way around for Stephen Marsh.
Yeah, it is, and he thinks it may be better left-handed as well. It's solidified, just hitting the line nicely, centre track and behind. But this was professional, wasn't it, from Tower Fly Pass? Craig Grills sticks with the ship, so a lot of upside there, and another one with a win on the board. This is just such an even race. I didn't find it as clear-cut as the market. Got a little share in Darcy's Angel, so we'll be plumping for her a little bit. But on form, I'm going to go with Glamour Tycoon. Really like what we saw on debut. Like that we've got a horse who's trialled well on a wet track. Widegate, I think that'll be an advantage as well. And obviously Stephen Marsh, with such a good record in this race, he'll be wanting to win it again. Leith, who'd you go for?
Yeah, well, I was sort of going for Viva Vienna, but I just think if the wet track does come, I'm going to change my pick to Solidify. The Graham Rogerson's horse, he's a beautiful colt, and he's got a back up from last Saturday.
Right, let's hear from the trainers once again, and we'll start with Stephen Marsh, who's got a really good record in this race. He's got the 3, and we just asked him how happy he is with Tower Fly Pass after his last run.
Really good. Like his first up third was great at Wellington. He won good at Tauranga. He's just a little bit green and wayward right-handed, so his win was probably a lot better than it looked. I think back left-handed's the key. He's a sort of an on-pace horse, and he's been going really well, and I like him.
The other two in the race, Glamour Tycoon for starters, a really good second at Te Rapa last time out in one of the key form races. Sectional was really good as well. How's the horse gone on?
I thought she was terrific. First starter, it was a good field, and beaten by a good horse, and probably just a little bit of ring craft just let her down the last little bit. But look, her trials have been very good. She got back in one trial, she led in one trial, and as I say, she's bounced out of the race very well. She looks like a very promising filly going forward. And yeah, you'll probably see her in some of the very nice early spring 3-year-old races. But yeah, I think the key is she's had a run around Te Rapa as well, which always sets them up well.
Okay, and the first starter going into the race, in Mow It Down, whose last trial especially was very good.
Yeah, she's shown us a lot. She's had 3 trials for a second and 2 wins. It's a ladies only syndicate, so geez, we'll be smothered with women on Saturday. There's lots attending, so it's terrific. But she's shown plenty. Putting her in the deep end a bit, first starter in a stakes race, but lovely filly going forward, and she's going to set her up nicely for a 3-year campaign.
Very happy with the work. They just did a quiet 1,000 today. They both fit and just ticking them over really.
No, she's really good. She's got a good affinity with Te Rapa track, and going to be different track conditions this weekend, I think. So she has trialled on a heavy track at Tauranga and seemed to get through it, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, much better. She got out of the gates from a tricky draw, worked across, put herself in the race, and was very game, just got beaten by a good one.
Yeah. How's her development been the whole way through?
Yeah, she probably needed that first up run in a lot of respect. She'd come off only one soft trial, but won it well there. And I think any sort of easing in the ground, the slower the track gets, I think it would help her too.
Yeah, much improved run last time. We rode her a bit differently. Joe rode her, and he rides her again this weekend, and just told her to ride her cold last time. She was just missing the kick and then using her up too much during the race, and then just not quite finishing it off. So we just rode her a bit colder last time, and it worked. Covered some ground, and was possibly could have been a bit closer.
Hopefully she will be for you, Aidan, with that we share in Darcy's Angel. We saw George Simon, of course, got the spoils on the weekend too, our other co-workers. So that is the listed feature out of Te Rapa. It is a race number 5 on the program. Do make sure you tune into the action with the Punters Lounge live with Emily Bosson at 11 a.m.
You look It's handy. We're closing in on Sunday's race, which they call in America the greatest 2 minutes in sport, the Kentucky Derby. We'll have that coverage on trackside on Sunday morning. And we've been joined by New York Racing Association analyst Acacia Clement to give us the thoughts. Acacia, all the talk around Forte, who is such a good 2-year-old, has come back in terrific form as 3-year-old. But in your opinion, how's this year's race shaping?
I think it's a very evenly matched race, Aiden, which makes it fun. It's a good handicapping race because I think that Forte will be the favorite, but I don't think that he's necessarily kind of the big star that we anticipated. He was the 2-year-old champion. He came back. He's done everything right this year, including winning the Fountain of Youth in the Florida Derby as trainer Todd Pletcher looks for his 3rd Kentucky Derby win. I think, yes, Forte has done a lot of things to prove that he's the horse to beat, but as a result, I think you're going to get some really good prices on some other horses that I think may be ready to peak on this big weekend.
Okay, we'll touch on a few of those shortly, but first of all, just going back to Forte, barrier 15, how does that affect his chances?
It's not as much as it used to be. We kind of took a little bit of a page from over in Australia with that big gate. So we used to have in the Kentucky Derby Hillary gate where there would be a second group of horses all the way to the outside that would really be inhibited because it was basically 2 starting gates lined up together. Last year, they unveiled a new 20-horse starting gate. So it's not really the outer post as big a deal as it used to be. And Forte had an outside post last time in the Florida Derby, and he had things not really go his best way. You could have made excuses given that outside post, given the fact that he had to move a little bit wide, he had to kind of be grinding a little bit late. So he could get a very similar trip in the Kentucky Derby. That said, Irad Ortiz Jr., his jockey, will need to navigate a trip for him for sure.
Just tell us about conditions. What can we expect at Churchill Downs on Sunday our time?
It looks like it's going to be really nice out, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been a pretty clear week, knock on wood so far. Hopefully we don't have any significant rain, but it looks like it should be in good shape this weekend at Churchill Downs. They opened racing this past Saturday to kick off the spring meet and leading up to all that good racing we're going to see with Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby Day.
Okay, one who's drawn really kindly is Tapit Trice. Just give us your thoughts on this one. I think around about that $6 price in betting.
I really like this horse. I think he might actually be the most talented horse in the race. I thought that his Bluegrass was a big step forward in the right direction. He's the type of horse that early in his career, several races, he would totally take himself out of the race. He would really resent the kickback. He was very, very far back. He would come closing, and Luis Saez would kind of need a ventilator after the races because he was having to work on him so much. So he's the horse that I think has continued to improve. I almost picked him this weekend for the Kentucky Derby, but I really think he's perhaps our Belmont Stakes winner and a horse that wants to go a little bit longer. I think he would be the 5th Belmont winner for his sire Tapit. So again, the trip, typically historically, horses that can rate a little bit kinder, can be a little bit more forwardly placed, have a bit of a better time in the Kentucky Derby versus those deep closers like Tapit Trice.
Okay, there's real interest around a couple of Japanese horses in the race. Your thoughts on those?
Well, we've seen this global domination from Japan on Saudi Cup night and the Dubai World Cup night. Derma Sotogake winning the UAE Derby coming in here, and I give his connections a lot of credit for taking a shot with the Kentucky Derby. It seems like that's kind of the next thing that Japan has their eyes set on. Unfortunately, the UAE Derby does not have a great track record as far as how horses fare in the Kentucky Derby. One thing this horse does really have in his benefit, though, I think he will be the clear pace setter once the gates open. It's interesting, he's by a star American sprinter in Mind Your Biscuits.
Has there been a feel-good story around this year's race? We normally see so many great stories in the media leading up to the Derby.
There always are. I think especially last year when we saw Rich Strike win the race at 81-1, it kind of reminded anybody that anything can happen in a race like this. Like you said, it's for us the biggest weekend that we'll have in American racing, what everybody says we're here for. I saw a quote from Larry Ravelli, who sends out 2 fills, and he says, races like this are why we train horses.
Yeah, Todd Pletcher with 3 in the race, Brad Cox with 4, and Tim Yakting with a couple as well. You did touch on it, Acacia. We want to get your top selection in this year's Derby.
I ended up going with Brad Cox's Angel of Empire, won the Arkansas Derby, and while it might not necessarily have been the toughest field that day, he did it so nicely, and I think it's a horse that's peaking at the right time. Brad Cox technically won the Derby 2 years ago with Mandaloon, but that was after the disqualification of Medina Spirit, so he's looking to win it outright this year, and with 4 chances. I did prefer Angel of Empire. I think Hit Show at a big price is one you want to use underneath, as well as Confidence Game.
Okay, yeah, and before we let you go, what about an Oak selection? Who's on top for you?
Oh, for the Oaks, I like Pretty Mischievous all the way to the outside. She has to overcome the draw for trainer Brendan Walsh, but I really think that she's coming into this at the right time for a very talented young trainer.
Acacia Clement joining us here as part of our Kentucky Derby preview. We look forward to the coverage coming through on Trackside 2 on Sunday morning.
In front and clear, although Bellucci's looking to get going the last little bit, but finding now and down towards the line. We Will Rock is too good. Here it is, Lincoln Rock's on the outside of Harnikin, and then Vidiano. Lincoln Rock's driven away from them by JKB and gets another today.
Yes, it was. Bevan and Leith lifting the team last week with their best bets getting on home. So we better start with one of the men that got us the win. Leith, who have you found this week?
Yeah, I'm going to race 2 on Saturday at Te Rapa, the maiden 1400. Pukana. He was a little bit unlucky last start at Avondale. He ran 4th to Mr. Mojo Rising. And look, Tristan Moodley, he's riding very well at the moment. He rode 2 winners yesterday, and he won't be claiming 4 kilos for very long. I think he's a star on the up.
Time to head to your selection, Aidan, and no pressure. I do hear you going for 5 in a row.
Yeah, that's why I've kept it a little bit short this week. Pip going for this horse, Prince Albie, who was so good last time out. He lands in a very similar type race. He's $1.70 with bookmakers at the moment. I thought he would have been far shorter than that, so I thought that was actually a gift in the first at Riccarton.
And I'm now heading to Hattrick on a Friday night. Great to have racing back at Hattrick, and I'm going for big time hinder here. Race 6, number 6, was luckless last Friday. Just got slammed out of the lids from the left and right dog. He's drawn outside of big time Pikey, which would usually worry me, but he's just been standing there at the moment in the lids. Like him now, had a look under the lights. Think he'll be winning on Friday night in race number 6. Also jumping in this week is the Whale with Sister Cherie at Ascot Park on Saturday. Justin with Kana at Awapuni, and Bevan with Papa Smurf at Awapuni as well, meeting code 4, race number 2. That wraps up the form for another week. I hope you enjoy all of the action over the weekend up north and down south. Thanks to the boys for joining us, and we'll catch you back next week.